Yes, hello and welcome everybody to another video. Today is a Doctor Who book review. And yes, on the topic of the Doctor Who books, if you remember the series called The Ultimate Book Marathon, which I started around May, I got up to Time Room Apocalypse. That's not stopping, that's not scrapped. I like the idea of the series too much, of putting the BBC books up against the Virgin books and all that stuff, and doing scores and then comparing them and whatnot. I don't want to get rid of that series. That is going to be continuing in 2018, like January 2018. Body Snatchers is next up. Then Time Room Revelation, Genocide, you get the idea. But yes, before I get back into that series, I want to review two other Doctor Who books, classic Doctor Who books, which have no relevance to the series. One of them being Invasion of the Cat People. And yes, I really need to talk about this book. Yes, this is from the Virgin Missing Adventures. There are four second Doctor stories in the Virgin Missing Adventures. Invasion of the Cat People, The Menagerie, Twilight of the Gods, and The Dark Path. Now, what is the depressing thing about the Virgin Missing Adventures of the second Doctor era? One out of the four stories, the four books, one of them is only rated as excellent and the rest are just negative. People do not like The Menagerie. You will find it boring, dull, crap. That's like the main area of opinions with that story by Martin Day. Twilight of the Gods, a very crap sequel to The Web Planet. And again, very poorly executed by Christopher Bulis. And then Invasion of the Cat People, very closely, I think, ranked as the worst Virgin Missing Adventure. So the second Doctor doesn't have a good run from the sounds of it in the Virgin Missing Adventures. Besides The Dark Path, which I would like to leave last, leave the best to last. Gary Russell does get some crap, gotta be honest, and I like Gary Russell, I do, and his books do get a fair share of crap from some people, even from other authors and writers. Like Divided Loyalties, of course everyone knows it was rated the worst PDA out of the entire range. Lawrence Miles completely took the crap out of him, and Gary Russell even takes the mick out of his own books. Placebo Effect is one of them. This one right here is one of them, and that's not a good sign when the writer themselves take the crap out of their own work. And another depressing factor to add to this, the second Doctor is my favourite Doctor. Now grant this, he is probably the most hardest Doctor to characterize and to get right in this form. On paper, it's a little bit tricky, like the fifth Doctor a little bit, I would think. Like Doctors like the 7th Doctor, 6th Doctor, 4th Doctor, 3rd Doctor and 1st Doctor, I think they can easily be captured in book form, but it's a bit tricky with the 5th and 2nd Doctor, and that's a problem which usually occurs. I do not know what motivated me to read this book. I do not know. But yeah, I have no idea, because it's rated very, very poorly. Some people may enjoy it, of course. That happens. Some people love Synthespians, and it's not regarded as a hated book. I just might be in the minority with Synthespians. I just thought it was a joke. Terrible. Might be the same with Revelation. It's regarded as really good, but some people just can't get into it and do not like it. I've seen it. Yeah, I thought this book would just be plain average, really, just a 5 out of 10. No. Invasion of the Cat People was such an onerous read. It could drive you insane. But not only that, but it's got a hell of a lot of problems. And I think it's from a lack of experience, really. Invasion of the Cat People. It doesn't feel like it had any consistency in the structuring of the story. Dull. I got a lot of problems with Invasion of the Cat People, and that's why I'm reviewing it. To warn you. That's what I did with Synthespians. I warned people that you may not like this book. Some people do, but I'm warning you. There's some terrible stuff in Synthespians, and I want to share my opinions on it. And now I'm going to share my opinions on Invasion of the Cat People. Now, this review is probably not going to be extremely ranty like Synthespians, because the difference between Invasion of the Cat People and Synthespians, with Synthespians, this is the worst thing that can ever happen. I did not expect it to be a bad book, but it was a bad book. That's terrible when that happens. This, I knew it had really bad reviews, and maybe I could take the crap out of it a little bit. You know, something like Combat Rock, or Rags, or Warmonger, even though that book really does scare me, because it's written by Terrance Dicks, who I admire. So I really want to keep away from that book. I really do not want to read it, and I probably won't because it just terrifies me, but the fact it's written by Terrance Dicks. Gary Russell's books, they're just up and down, they are. He's got some real high ones, high notes, like Scales of Injustice. Business Unusual, I've heard, is very good. Placebo Effect is a little bit 50-50, but yeah, he does really have some down ones, like this one, Divided Loyalties. Yeah, my idea might just be a lack of experience of writing, I would say, because things like structuring and basic things were not correct within this book. They just weren't right. So I think a lack of experience is the reason why this book is so poor. Yep, this is going to be an extremely negative review. So I would say the next book review after, I want to go for a positive one. Right off the bat, I got this immediately. Very quick within the book, I knew pacing and drive would be a massive issue. And I thought maybe optimistically, it may pick up after. But no, my instincts were correct from the moment. Early stages of the book, I knew it would have pacing and structuring problems, drive. And it does. The drive and the pacing is awful. I don't know how I got through this in 2 days. I read half of it in 1 day, tried to find anything meaningful, but I didn't. And I said, no more. I've really had enough of this book now. And I put it down, and the next day I read the other half. Yeah, the story itself is very basic, predictable really. And the cat people are introduced fairly quickly, they are, and we know that they have plans to invade Earth and whatnot. The story, it follows the Second Doctor, Ben and Polly. They land in the 1990s, and they meet up in a university, and they meet up with a group of amateur ghost hunters. And this very mysterious witch character, and which are the immortal witches, which I'll get into a little later. Quite of a frontier in space sort of style story, a little bit, with two big groups at each other's throats, with the immortal witches and the cat people themselves. Very basic and predictable story, I would say. It's nothing fascinating, nothing that really grabs you. It's just like meh, standard. Now the supposed villains of Invasion of the Cat People. The cat people. This is what I got out of them. A, they're crap. And B, they are annoying as hell. Their dialogue and the amount of cat cliches there were was just so silly. And I just could not take these villains seriously. And of course, with obvious continuity thrown in, they have some relations to the Cheetah People and Survivor. I knew that was going to happen anyway, because I know good old Gary Russell likes his continuity, just like Craig Hinton. One of the cat people says, "Meet me in the litter room." It really is a contrived and hilarious way of establishing their villains, their characters. It's just so forced and in your face all the time. They keep bringing it up. Yeah, how their personalities are established is just it's done really contrived. However, I knew this, and if this wasn't right, then there would be some real problems. But Gary Russell did characterize the Second Doctor, Ben and Polly very well. I can hear their characters when reading the story, so that's good. That's obvious. That is essential. If that's not nailed, then you've got some real problems. We're talking about Warmonger level here. That Terrance Dicks book, where the Fifth Doctor was completely not characterized correctly, and this Sixth Doctor persona was coming through. Maybe it was originally intended to be a Sixth Doctor story, and maybe it should have been. Invasion of the Cat People had that problem, then this review would have been pretty much all negative, and it would probably even got a 0 out of 10 if that was not achieved in the book. Yeah, the Second Doctor was done pretty good, and I would say Ben and Polly are characterized perfectly. The main characters, pretty good. Cat People were not good. I'll talk more of them later, as I said. What about the supporting characters? God, they were dollars a post. They were 2D boring, flat, cardboard characters. They were so mind-numbingly dull that I can't even remember their goddamn names. I cannot, for the life of me, remember any of their names. Even when I was scripting the review, I was like, what's your name again? I can't even remember. They're so dull, so boring, you just don't give a crap about them. If they live, die, you just don't care. They have no personality of their own. I'm trying to look through the books to remember their names. See, I'm looking for them. Fronsum, I think that was one of the cat people. Yeah, as well, they had, I'm not sure if you can see this, where I'm pointing to, they have really difficult names to pronounce and all that. There's another one as well. So they're very difficult characters to remember, but not just by names, but how they're portrayed, their characterization. It's just none of it. As I said, a lack of experience, I think, of why this book is just so bad. They don't have any sparking identities. You all feel the same, they do. You don't care if they live or die. They just irritate you. There's nothing that jumps off them. Interesting, enjoyable, investing, nothing. There's just nothing there. And I was worried because this goes to a lot of Virgin books, I find, where the supporting characters, this applied to Drift as well, where the supporting characters are more in the story than the main characters. That was one of my worries, because here the supporting characters were just so badly done. But it was boring. In Drift, it's a completely different reason. They were incredibly, heavily characterized, but there was far too much focusing on them. One thing it does capture right is that it does feel like it's from season 4. You know, when I look at Dying in the Sun, The Murder Game, Wonderland, it feels like it belongs in season 4. So he's got the era, and he's got the placement correctly. That's all well and good, because this story, by looking at it, it looks a bit cheesy and a bit comedic and whatnot. So yeah, I guess that's one thing. Well, it does suit the era where it's supposed to be. So that's good, I suppose. And yeah, with the whole part of the second Doctor recently regenerated, that comes up quite a bit in this story, and that was handled rather well. And Ben and Polly wandering in the 1990s, how they act in this world with, you know, technology rising, and they haven't yet experienced it and whatnot. That's quite fun and entertaining, but it's not enough to make you go, you know, I don't want to carry on. It doesn't really want you to carry on this book, because yes, it is a struggle and things need to happen. And yeah, it's a short book. It's 250 pages. It's gonna double. Yeah, it's 250 pages. It's a short Doctor Who Virgin book, and yeah, this is constructed as a 6-parter. This one. So yeah, episode 1 was just okay, just rather average. Supporting characters were dull. The villains I knew were going to be bad. I knew from the start that pacing was going to be an issue, and yeah, pacing is one massive issue. It's like you're doing it's like the Clockwork Orange thing, and you're like forced to read it. You might know what I'm on about. That's what it felt like to me when reading this book. Forced to go through it and read it and torturing yourself. The episode 2 things just go for the turn for the worse, they do. Because this is where the dull side really comes in, and you're saying to yourself, can the cat people come in? I know I don't like them, but I want to see some action. I want to see people die. Yeah, I know, a bit bleak, isn't it? But I like bleak stories anyway, if you know me. I wanted some action, some carnage to happen, because this is supposed to be a feud between the Immortal Witches and the cat people. You say, it's probably building up to it, but yeah, there's no build up. It's so terribly structured. As I said, there's no build up to this climax, which is supposed to be happening with the Immortal Witches and the cat people. And yeah, it's got like backstory from one of these characters called Bridgman. It is of how he got inspired in like ghost hunting and whatnot. And you don't care, because you don't care for the characters. You don't care for the backstory. You just do not give a crap. And yeah, if you're a fan of like ghost stories and all that, I'm a massive fan of all that stuff, like paranormal and whatnot, but don't think you're gonna get a ghost story or anything like this here. That's just don't let that make you think that's gonna go somewhere and some paranormal stuff happens, because it doesn't. So don't think that, otherwise you'll be disappointed. So yeah, that is like a little bit of backstory for Bridgman of how he got into this all supernatural stuff, inspired and all that. It's very dull. That development is very dull. The development is very dull because you feel so uninvested in that character. It's just boring. It just felt like waffling. The book was just waffling. But yeah, episode 3, things did pick up. Again, pretty dull, but a lot of problems did occur. Cat people are now coming across as more aggressive now. Fantastic. I want to see some action from these villains. However, the cat people seem to be sidelined from the witches. This is where we come into a real big problem. What is the book called? Invasion of the Cat People. And yet they are sidelined from the witches. It's called Invasion of the Cat People. All they did is just kill one person and just talk and intimidate. Yes, I like the intimidation, but I want to see them do something. Actions speak louder than words. The witches came across as front row dominance, yet the cat people were just sidelined. Not good development of how you're working with the cat people. You're just sidelining them. Why are you sidelining them? Maybe put them up against each other, or yet not build the immortal witches at this point. Leave that to later, maybe make them a mystery. Because it does say, after all, a mysterious white witch in the bio, so I think they should have not been anywhere within episode 3 or 4 or whatever. Maybe just mentioned and we see one in like episode 1, which we do, but don't reveal anything. Make them a mystery. That would have been so much more better. And put the cat people up front first, then work with all the witch sort of stuff. That would have been handled a lot more better, and the execution would have been there. The structuring is messy, inconsistent. It just doesn't work how it was done. Things should have been changed and swapped around here. Yeah, even if that change was done, I would still think the book would just come across as very boring, because the supporting characters are just so bloody dull. Yeah, the book just waffles on with dialogue. Really hard to invest and picture anything in this book, because there's no form of world building here. There's building up on the cat people and the witches. It's just we talked about very slightly any atmosphere or environment building, and that's one thing I really do think that Gary Russell never does well, from what I've experienced, is setting up the environment of the story. Come on, this is basic things. This is basic things. That's why Invasion of the Cat People is so bad, because it fails in basic areas. Very different when compared to Time Realm Genesis, because to me that was just incompetence. Because I know John Peel is very talented, and he can be, but that's just incompetence. It's just to get the first original Doctor Who book. He rushed that, and he knows it. That's why Time Realm Genesis is just so bad by incompetence. Synthespians, I would say, it's all about execution and how Craig Hinton did the outcome to it all, and that the comedic and dark elements did not hit each other, did not work. It really struggled to find any identity of what it was supposed that I wanted to be. It was really dark and gravitas in some places, but yet really funny and going for this soap sort of style, like Dynasty, as its inspiration with the characters and the dialogue. But this is some lack of experience, all completely different reasons, all terrible books in my opinion, but all failed due to a different reason. This was a massive flop for Gary Russell, and I've seen him take the crap out of this book before. Doesn't work at all. Basic problems. The Scales of Injustice, however, it's a sequel to my favourite Jon Pertwee story, Doctor Who and the Silurians, and I've heard good things about it, so And I like Gary Russell as well, so to rip this book apart, you know, it's upsetting because I like the guy, I do. But yeah, needs to be said, always have to do an honest review. Because that's what people are watching this video for, to hear my thoughts on the book. But yeah, there is way better books than this one. This has a very, very low score. Really low score. When I did the in-depth analysis, it was on the lines of Time Room Genesis. To get any connection to it, I find it impossible. The only thing I found good about it is the characterization of the main characters, and that it feels like a season 4 story. That's it. Everything else, every single area, pacing, the drive, supporting characters, villain, the threat, structuring, originality, creativity, very, very low. With this review, I think I am gonna stop it there and speak no more of Invasion of the Cat People, because I think it would just be waffling on, really. So yeah, this review definitely does not feel like as long as in Thespians, but that was just a completely different book that I had so much put down and discussed on that book. There's just so much on my head, and I didn't even discuss all of it. I didn't. There was a few parts which I cut out because the review is so long. But yeah, this one doesn't feel like so long. It feels like maybe if I edit it, it'd be probably like half an hour, so not too long at all. So yes, let's do the in-depth rating, which is very low, mind you, and close my thoughts on Invasion of the Cat People. Story, very unengaging, very uninspiring, predictable, just nothing fascinating or interesting at all. Far better books out there. 3 out of 10. Characters, main characters, good. Ben and Polly were perfect. The Doctor was pretty good. Supporting characters were a joke. And the villains as well, how they were characterized was, well, hilarious, really. Enjoyment factor, this was a struggle. Painful. It was onerous. It was doing the Clockwork Orange method. Nothing. There was no enjoyment I got out of this book whatsoever. It was just torturing myself. Writing / dialogue. The dialogue with Ben and Polly was really good. I felt I could hear their characters within the book. But the villains were, they're so contrived how they tried to establish their personalities in the book. And it just came across as hilarious to me. 3 out of 10. Drive. This is not a quick book. There's no form of drive. It's 2 out of 10. Pacing. There's no pace to it at all. It just, yeah, with pacing, it's just that. That's all it is. There's no build up to anything, I feel. There's no great tension within the book. It has none of that. 5. Padding. There was a lot of padding. I felt a lot of this book was just waffling on. I did not care. Did we even need that backstory with Bridgman? No, I don't think we didn't. I didn't think it was necessary. I think it was inconsequential. You didn't need it. You didn't need to discuss about it. And I didn't think. I think that was about 15 pages. I can't remember. This was October when I read this. I didn't think that was necessary. And it didn't need to be that long. Maybe just talk about it a little bit of why he got inspired. But it just went on and on and on. Just waffling on. 2 out of 10. Villain / threat. Invasion of the Cat People. And the witches themselves completely overshadowed the Cat People. They intimidated, but actions speak louder than words. And in like episode 1 to 4, only 2 people died. One character was just a plot device just so he can get killed by one of the cat people, and the other one was just shot to annoy the Doctor. But they weren't any significant character, they were just killed because of a plot device sort of thing. 3 out of 10. Twists / unpredictability, there was no twists. Nothing which made me go, whoa, didn't expect that. Or, I like that, that's some unpredictable stuff there. The book is painfully predictable, in my opinion. Nothing made me go, didn't expect that. Nothing. Main elements of the book. It was built up to be this, well, from the back bio of what I got from it, it was this big feud between two races. Two alien races at war with each other. I never got that. No tension. I needed tension in this book. And maybe it could be someone compared to Frontier in Space. So, 1 out of 10. Originality / creativity, 0. There's nothing original about this book. No creativity. And reread, I would never read this again. Ever. 0 out of 10. Yeah. That gives it a rating of 21 out of 120. That's an in-depth rating, rated even lower than Time Room Genesis. Because it fails in basic areas. Because, not due to incompetence, however, but to me, this is my viewpoint, experience. I think Gary Russell needed more experience of writing, personally. That's what I thought. And then he hit his mark, really, with Scales of Injustice, but it's just been very inconsistent with his whole journey and publishing of his books with Virgin and the BBC. Just very inconsistent. Very different opinions with all sorts of his books. As I said, Placebo Effect, Split, Marmite, Scales, people love it. This, people think is a crap book, which it is. And Divided Loyalties, said to be the worst of them all. It gets a 1 out of 10. First book which I've actually rated a 1 out of 10. One of the worst books I've ever read. Sorry, Gary. Yeah, very sorry, Gary Russell. I just have to read Scales of Injustice and pretend this has never got published. Why did I read this over the Murder Game? Or something like that. God, I have no idea. I have no flipping idea. I must have been drunk or something. I don't know. I don't know why I did that. I should have just went to the Murder Game and said, fudge it. Why read this? Because it's rated so poorly. Let's go for the Murder Game, which is rated very highly and it's written by Steve Lyons, who is praised. He did The Witch Hunters after all. This book was so crap to me, I actually went away from Doctor Who books for a little bit, and I actually started reading Stephen King books. But I said, it gave me a terrible taste in my mouth, just like Synthespians. I said, I'm just reading something completely different now. And I read Misery. And yeah, I'm not sure if my review of this is already out, I'm not too sure. But this I wanted to be my saviour. It's not a catastrophe like Synthespians, which again I would change to a 1 out of 10 rating because it annoyed me so much, and it is my least favourite book of all time, Synthespians. Even though it has a higher in-depth rating than 21, I still put it at my least favourite because it's the book that's just annoyed me so much. Out of any Doctor Who, actually any book ever, Synthespians is my least favourite book. Because this one, Invasion of the Cat People, didn't annoy me at all. Didn't like Time Room Genesis, incompetence, and Synthespians terribly executed. That's my review of Invasion of the Cat People. Don't read it, just skip it. As I said, you'll just find it dull and boring. It's not an easy book to get through, even if it's so short. So yeah, that was my review of Invasion of the Cat People by Gary Russell. So yeah, if I do end up reviewing another Doctor Who book for the Ultimate Book Marathon comes up again now, with the Body Snatchers and Time Room Revelation, I would like to review a positive Doctor Who book. From the PDAs or the Virgin Missing Adventures. Won't be from the EDAs or the New Adventures because that's linked to my Ultimate Book Marathon series. So, I might actually leave it to my audience. What Doctor Who, PDA, or Virgin Misadventure you want me to review before the Ultimate Book Marathon comes up again? What Doctor Who book? I'm not going to review a bad Doctor Who book. Don't say Warmonger, because it will probably kill me. Because I hate the fact it's written by Terrance Dicks. Rags, Combat Rock. I want to review something positive. I do. So yeah, I'll leave it to my audience. Fear Itself, Fear of the Dark, The Witch Hunters, Deep Blue, any Doctor Who book which has a big positivity, which has a great positivity from it, which has very good reviews overall. Well, thanks for watching, and of course, have a good one.